We are live in five, four, three. You know the rest. This creator series is going to be a little bit different. Yes, we're going to talk about music, but we're also talking about creating videos and creating an app because today's creator is someone who does all three. And I enjoy this creator's work because whenever I get asked the question, Pete, why don't you cover electronic music and synthesizers enough? I just say that Jakob Haq has already done it. So welcome to Studio Live today. Jakob Haq, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine. Hello, everybody in Pete's audience. Jakob Haq from Hack Attack here.
It is wonderful. We've been trying to tee this up for a long time. You've been very busy. I've been very busy. We've finally found the time. Now, for the few people that don't know you and who you are, why don't you give us the very quick rundown of what you get up to online and, what is Jakob Haq all about?
Well, I'm a mobile musician today, and I say that because I make music mainly on mobile gear and portable gear. So anything that could be battery powered, like MIDI controllers, to Volcas, to pocket operators, and specifically also iPad and iPhone. And for many years, I produced all my content on these units. I still do, but now I also use DSLR cameras to film with. But I used to film only with iPhone. So I make reviews, I make demos, tutorials. That's mainly the thing, going through tech and also showing people how to use these things to make music with, basically.
Excellent, and as always, there's links down below. So after the chat here, if you're not familiar with Jakob, you should go and check out all of his stuff because watching Hack Attack is one of my highlights of my weeks because not only is it informative, very entertaining, very very diverse content, and a very good sense of humor. So definitely check that out. Now, the question I ask up front here on all of these interviews is, what is your music origin story? So what got you into music? Obviously, you're creating and you're sharing your music knowledge in tutorials now. But starting out, what was it that got you bit by the music bug?
Well, I think I've always been bitten. I was born bitten by the music bug, as you call it. But I did get introduced to a lot of music by my mom and my dad, of course. And so there were a lot of like everything from Creedence music, like Creedence, to stuff like Toots and the Maytals, and a lot of reggae music, African music, and it just kind of grew from there because I always had this like burning question about music, like how does it come together, how do you put this together, how do you make these sounds, and sounds in particular. I was always really interested in finding out how to produce certain sounds, and I started playing like guitar and like keyboards and pianos and stuff like that, and then I was given a Casio synthesizer by my mom, one of those more toyish
Mm,
toy-like things.
yeah.
And that's when I realized I wasn't really interested in conventional instruments because I'm gonna piss everyone off. I thought they were boring. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm sorry. I thought that it was boring using a guitar. I think differently now because you can get other sounds out of a guitar, and uh, with the synthesizer you could make sounds that didn't sound like conventional stuff. And that's when I understood exactly what I wanted to do. So from there on out, I was only interested in synthesizers and synth music and drum machines and stuff like that. So I think
No.
that's when it happened.
Yeah, cool. And how old were you when you sort of got that first synthesizer and started creating and thinking, hey, I want to start creating my own sounds and my own music?
Well, the problem is, Pete, that I've been going back looking at all the interviews I've been talking about this, and the funny thing is, I give kind of different ages in each and every one of them, so it could literally be anything between 10 and I think 14, but it's
No,
somewhere in between there, and
no,
my mind isn't really clear on that exactly when, and I've asked my mom, and she wasn't too clear either.
no.
So in between that age somewhere, I think it was anyways, but
I love
like
it.
the interest of music was with me very early, and I started singing really early too. But the synthesizer thing and the things I'm doing today, that started between the age of 10 and 14 or something like that.
Very cool. And don't worry, when I got my first guitar, also varied somewhere between 10 and about 15 because I also don't actually recall exactly when it was. It just you just start things and then you look back and go, oh, well, yeah, I don't actually realize that. So what you use primarily to create music, we've already covered a little bit, and you mentioned there that obviously iOS is what you're known for, and creating using iPad and using apps. How long has that kind of been your focus? So moving from synthesizers and then getting into sort of the iOS world, and what was it that drew you into using mobile apps and mobile devices to create music?
I'll tell you. So when this thing came out, this is a Korg K oscillator. It's the original KO1. When this thing came out, I started having these. I was dreaming of a device that was like this with a touching thing that you could load other things into, make
Mm,
drums or make a synthesizer thing or an effect thing. And Korg, they put out a load of these Chaos pads and the mini KP Mini and the K oscillators, 1 and 2, and then the bigger ones. And I just had this dream of a device you could just load up with anything. And what I was dreaming about back then was basically like an iPhone or an iPad. But it took many
mm,
years. I mean, this has been out now for how many years? I don't know. But that started the idea, okay? But then what happened was I kept on with this music thing, and I did make somewhat of a small career for myself, and I was actually starting to earn money as a like a musician, and I was traveling around and playing music and stuff. But I had a heavy drinking problem, and I was also a drug addict, so I kind of messed everything up, which usually happens when you do stuff like that very heavily for a prolonged time.
mm,
Everything changes, your mind changes, the way you behave, and my priorities changed too. So it was a very blurred time, and so it ended up with me just starting to sell off my big studio. I had loads of gear, and
mm.
used to use a PC computer, and I used to absolutely hate Mac and everything that had to do with Apple. Well, yeah, look where I am today. So I had nothing left almost. I had an older computer left, and this was like 8 years ago, and I had really reached, I was down.
Mm.
I realized I was digging myself a hole, and so I just put the shovel aside, and I decided I was going to climb out of the hole. And that's the same day I started my blog called Hack Attack.
Mm.
So for 8 years, I've been doing mobile music things. It's even started with an Android first, and when I realized that the Android didn't give me what I needed because there weren't much, available in the forms of apps and protocols for audio and MIDI and stuff, and there were too much lag, and I just started looking at Apple, and I got myself an iPhone. That was 8 years ago, an iPhone
Mm.
5, I think, an iPhone 5. So
Yeah.
since then, has it been like I've only been doing all my creative stuff on iDevices.
That's well. First of all, congratulations. I mean, I know many people are benefiting from the last 8 years where you put the shovel aside. So that was a really good thing to have happened, and then to be sharing the knowledge and what you're creating. And as I said up front, and we were chatting, it's really clear that your personality comes through in your videos. So sharing your love of music, your love of synthesizers, your love of this stuff. Like I've always said that passion trumps experience and talent every time. And whilst you have the experience and the talent now for sure, your passion is what oozes through your videos and comes through. So again, if for folks who haven't actually checked out Hack Attack, you need to do it, because sometimes you watch the start of a video and you just don't know which direction it's going to go. You don't quite know what to expect. You never know where Jakob's going to pop out and what he's going to say and what the episode's going to be about. So highly recommend that. Now, the style of music that you produce, so you talked sort of early on and early influences. What drew you to the style of music that you're interested in and that you're creating now, and that you center, I guess, your teachings around?
Oh, let's see here. So, out of all the sounds in the world, the sounds I like the most, it starts there,
Mm,
lies around between 30, 40 hertz up to 80, 90 hertz. Okay?
yeah.
That's where my favorite like frequencies are. My absolute favorite one is around like 62 hertz. I could listen to a tone of that forever. Okay? You take a square waveform and you add a little bit of a saw waveform in there and you filter it down to around 62 hertz. Just listen to that. Just listen to it. It's just it's the best. So it starts there, and So if we go through genres, like I started with reggae music. I mean, it's obvious when you listen to reggae music, you listen to the bass, you listen to
Mm,
dub music, roots dub. It just becomes apparent what it is that I like. I didn't even hear lyrics. I started hearing lyrics and music a few years ago. I
yeah.
didn't care what people were saying. I was listening to rap music because it sounded really good around that,
Mm,
that 60 hertz, 80 hertz. I was
yeah.
listening to bass. So all these genres, there was this one country in particular where this type of music came out from, where they took the reggae, they took the dance music and kind of mixed it up, and that was the UK bass scene. So
Mm,
it started with that, like all the music from there. And I would say that even when you look at like EDM is a big umbrella term, right? But you could definitely put the Prodigy in there. So
mm,
stuff like the Prodigy, Square Pusher, things like that. That kind of drew me into just the hard style bass types and the massive basses, subby basses, crazy bass sounds. It just it just I don't know. It's something about those sounds that makes me feel alive. So that's pretty much been controlling me for ever since my teenage years, I think. So what? Maybe since I was 14 and up, I think.
yeah.
When I started really getting into synthesizers. I think around that time, yeah. I
Yeah.
just discovered this plethora of music from the UK, and it just grew with me. And I've been listening to, I don't even know what kind of music gets released in my own country anymore because most of my music choices comes from the UK.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's fascinating. And I've said of recent times that it is such a cool. We live in the future, and it's so cool that your favorite artist may be someone that no one else has heard of, or that isn't played on the radio, or isn't popular in your own part of the world. And it simply doesn't matter. You find your tribe, you find your group of people that are into the same sort of things that you are. And not to say that you can't diversify. I mean, I'm far from an electronic music fan, but I appreciate everything and every genre that artists create because again if you hear the passion coming through in the music, it takes you to that next level, and I love that. It was a good segue, and I did sort of set it up there for you because speaking of bass sounds and speaking of creating bass and loving those lower frequencies, Jakob has produced his own app. Now, I've buried the lead here. We're 10, 12 minutes in, and we haven't even talked about this, but I wanted to get the background so folks knew a little bit more about you before we dive into this. So, Agonizer is the name of the app. We'll show it up here. So you produced this in with Kai, who's the producer of the app, and then you were his expert consultant, collaborator on this, and provided that. And what you said is, and the title of this is, you've created your dream app. And now knowing more about the fact that you love these bass tones, kind of makes sense there. So, why do you take us behind the scenes of this? What encouraged you? What motivated you to say, "Hey, I know there's all these synths out there, but I want the Jakob Haq synth that I can use to create my own music."
Oh, I think a lot of the audience, many people in the audience would recognize this. Like, I mean, wouldn't you, if I asked you, the audience, wouldn't you want someone to make your dream synth? And I mean, this is a dream come true. It's like it feels unreal. I have a very particular way of making bass sounds, especially when it comes to animated bass, or not well, you could say animated modulated bass. And you can do that in many other synths, and over the years you'll find videos on my channel how I set it up in some of my most favorite synthesizers. Everything from Thor, from Propeller, from recent studios, to something like Cyclop from Sugar Bites. I mean, come on, these are in the top for me. And there's just some things I want to do instantly, and there's some stuff I don't need. And so I wanted that streamlined. And I also want a certain sound and some certain controls inside my synth so I don't have to set it up in my DAWs over and over.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. I want it simple, I want it instantly, and I want it now. And this synth was designed to be that, exactly like that. And it is. I can't believe
Mm.
that it is exactly what I dreamed of it being. Kai has been so extremely good at listening to every request, every wish I had. He did everything I asked for. He made it happen. And it was a lot of work, but yeah, I could never review this, obviously, because of course it is the best synth in the world. It was made for me. What else
Yeah.
can I say?
Yeah. Well, I mean, thankfully, plenty of other folks have reviewed it. And look, I haven't even had a chance to play with it. I'll be 100% honest with you because, yeah, you even sort of came to me a couple of weeks ago and I said, yeah, I really want to check this out. And then life gets in the way. But luckily, so many other folks have already checked it out, including a friend of the show here, Jade Starr, did a full show and review on it and was loving it, loving the wub wub. So, yeah, it's a very, very cool app. And yeah, do check it out over on the App Store. And you're right that if you had something that was made for you, and I think you'll probably get a lot of people thinking now saying, so it can be done. I think you've created, you could be a pioneer of this stuff, Jakob, that other people will now go, it can be done. We can do this. And I'm like, I'm already, the cogs are turning and I'm just like, a guitar loop app. Okay, I need to find a developer. Kai, what do you do?
Yeah, it's a good thing, and as a content creator, I know how hard it could be when you work a, a lot to make your videos,
Yeah.
and if you don't have a really huge channel, it's really hard to earn money from doing this. You really have to have like a huge audience for that.
Mm.
And when you're at our level, it doesn't get up to that level quite. So if you can find other ways to kind of like do stuff, good stuff that people want, then you can earn money that way too. So you should definitely look into it. I mean, you've got Heinbach making Gauss with Bram Bose. You got
Mm.
Henny the Business, which
Yeah.
also has a huge channel, making an app with AudioKit. AudioKit, which I love because they gave the iOS world one of the best synthesizers out there for free. For
Yeah.
free, absolutely. Is Synth One is it called, right? I think
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is Synth One.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you're on iOS and you haven't checked it out, you should definitely check it out. Synth
Yep.
One from AudioKit because it's free. It's mental how good it is. Free. So many
Yep.
developers working on it. So definitely, Pete, look into that. I mean, it would be interesting. A guitar looper, you say? I want to see that. I want to see
Well,
that.
yeah, mostly because there's nothing that creates good guitar sounds. Similar to you, you're like, I want my bass sounds. I'm like, I know people that don't own guitars that love putting guitars in their stuff, but the virtual guitars, the synthesized guitars, just don't cut it. So there's got to be a way to use some real guitar samples to let people play real guitar without a real guitar. So there you go. There's my dream. I've put the idea out there now. Someone will probably steal it and release it next week. But that's cool. Ideas are plentiful. Go for it. If someone else
I,
does it,
I mean, everybody, if you look at it, there are so many companies putting out basically the same type of packets with, all the effects that you could ever need, like a phaser, a flanger, a compressor, but they all do it their own way. And right now, I think the market is saturated. So if there are musicians working with developers, I think we will be seeing new things. So definitely go contact someone. Don't worry if someone steals that idea. They probably won't do it the same way you do it. I just want to take this opportunity to say hello, everyone in chat. I can see you all commenting, and I do recognize some people that also come onto my channel. I'm really happy to be here with Pete, and I'm really happy to see all of you here listening to me ramble about my stuff, like I always do.
Very good point. And I did want to jump in there and say and offer that if you've got any curly questions that you want to throw Jakob's way, and you're here live, like we've got Foon Booter, we've got Jade Star, Desolate Morning, Tom Rochelle, Gary Hubbs, Russ is here. Who did I miss? Scott. Yeah. So if you've got questions, please throw them into the chat, and I'll throw them Jakob's way. We've got another couple of questions that I have, but if there's something you've always wanted to know about Hack Attack and what goes on in Jakob's world, then let us know. So, see, I asked this question, which is, what is your favorite tool for creating music? Apart from Agonizer, what is your go-to tool? So, what is your desert island app or bit of gear or software that you couldn't be without?
Figure,
Yep.
figure, no doubt. Figure, still. Figure
Yep.
every day since it came out, since back when it used to cost $1 to buy, actually.
Yeah. Right.
Every day, every damn day, I just open it up and I just document what I have in my head. If I don't do that, I lose the music idea for the day. if I don't
Yeah.
do it. So I'll just go up, I'll put on my lovely slippers that my partner bought me, and then I put on my hat and I just bring up figure. I'll
Mm.
sit and I'll go take a leak and I'll do figure stuff.
That is. And why don't you explain what for those we've got some fake folks asking what is figure all about? Why don't you just for those that don't know what exactly it does and why you use it?
A figure is really, really simple. So it's basically a sequencer, and the way that you play it, basically, it only got synth sounds and drum sounds, and it's got three channels. So if you look at top here, you can see three colored like pages. So if I
Mm.
press on bass here, you get the bass one, and then you play it by putting your finger down right here, and you can see something starting to loop, and that's a
Mm.
pattern generator. And so if I switch it, I can like drag it like this and switch out the preset types, and it will play like that. You can just record everything you do, and you can play it, and you can hold down your finger and just let it go, like in arpeggio and stuff. So three tracks, one drum, one bass, one lead. It's very simple. It's free. You're gonna have to register with You're gonna have to register with Reason Studios nowadays, but it is free. You should check it out if you've got an iPhone, definitely, or an iPad. It works on iPad too, but it's only portrait mode, unfortunately.
Well, see, they make it hard for us, don't they? Because there's nothing worse than trying to demo an app in a 16:9 video when it's in portrait mode. It's like, what do I do? Put my face next to it in a big giant screen, or just have it skinny down the middle? Yeah, do they think about us at all, Jakob, when we're trying to demo these things?
Oh
Um,
yeah, I mean, I've been to God. Why did you have to change your name, Propelhead? I've been to Reason Studios so many times, and every time I've been there, I'm like, please, please, can you please just input like a landscape mode for this? This is horrible. This is horrible. I don't want to have to flip my large 12.9-inch iPad.
right.
Imagine that if you were using a MacBook, you just flip it on the side to use the app. It's insane. I know it's not the same thing, but I guess I'm just miffed about it.
Oh, totally. And yeah, if you've got your iPad, like I sit here, my iPad sits on what used to be on a dock and now it's on its Magic Keyboard because Jade convinced me to spend all money to buy a Magic Keyboard. But yeah, it's always in landscape. So anytime that something forces me to turn it portrait, it is the clunkiest, most horrible thing. So I know that people say first world problems, but hey, when you live in this space, yeah, these are the things that are important. A couple of comments here and questions that we'll jump into here. So John says, proud of you for pulling yourself back up. Respect. Agree with that one.
Thank
We've
you.
got Digital Beats who says, love your videos. Your videos help me a lot. Keep up the great work. Question here
Thank you.
from Russ, which is, how do you feel about all the new M1 chip Apple Macs, and will you be tempted to abandon the mobile world, go back to a desktop or a laptop now that Apple have these funky new M1 chips with the iOS compatibility? Any thoughts on that?
Okay, so I feel absolutely nothing because it's too early to feel anything. And also, I'm not tempted at all because I still can't see where this is going because I talk to developers every day, and
Yeah.
none of the developers are telling me that, wow, wow, wow. They're just telling me, And when I get answers like that, well, I can't feel anything because it's not clear yet. There are how many of these machines are out there now? How many of these machines will be out there next month or
Mm.
in 6 months? I think we will have to wait a year at least before we even start speculating what this could mean. Right
Yeah.
now, we don't know. We can guess, but I'm so uninterested in guessing. I probably should do a live stream about that sometime because I know that there are people that are interested, and you probably think that I'm really boring right now, but that's the thing. I find this topic kind of boring because I can't see what it means yet for us, and I can't see what it means for app developers. One thing I can say though, great on Apple dropping their take from app developers earning less than $1 million per year beginning next year in January. That's awesome. They no longer have
Mm.
to pay 30%. Awesome.
Wow.
Awesome
Yeah.
move by Apple.
That yeah, exactly, and you know we probably don't have time to get into the whole. I know on Jade's interviews she did with you, you talked quite deeply about app developers and the app development culture, and a lot of detail on that. So Jade, who's here in the chat, please drop a link to that interview because that'd be a good one for folks to watch after this one because you guys dived headlong into that one. But yeah, no, it's an interesting one, and I think you're right that time will tell. And yeah, my view, folks know what my view is on this stuff, which is that you use whatever you want to use to create music and don't let other people tell you what you shouldn't use or anything in between. So yeah, and if you're not interested in it, if you're not into it, that's cool. And I know that from people say, oh, I like your videos about this, but why'd you have to make a video about that? And it's like, you're not going to love everything we do. You're not going to love every single episode of Hack Attack. You're not going to love every video on Studio Live today, but that's why they're channels. It's like TV. You can flick it off. You can skip one and go to the next one. So all right, we're going to off track there. Let's jump back on because Jade, speaking of Jade, has a question here. Were there any ideas that you had for Agonizer that you proposed to Kai that meant he was challenged to recreate things? So as a collaborator, was any time you put something out there and he's like, oh man, I have to change everything now because of this one thing that Jakob wants?
Yeah. Okay. So here's one thing. People have been asking for a randomizing function inside Agonizer, right? Okay. It was there before we released it, but it didn't work. You know why? Because there were so many new things in Agonizer. The challenge for him was to make something completely new. He already had a recipe for synthesizers. He already had the structure set up. He had his tool set done. But he had to recreate something. He had to create something new. And then he was challenged in doing that, like the vobulator, making that work the way we wanted with the repeats and everything, how it synced and having that be tight. That was a true challenge for him. And next comes the next challenge is trying to fit this into his structure, and it didn't work. So we had to remove functions before launch so we could fix them and then input them later. So a randomizer button is going to come back because it's in all of Kai's synthesizers.
Yeah. Very cool. No, good that you actually had one ready to go. Had an actual example, which is very cool. A question here from our buddy Tom says, Jakob, how do you determine what apps to review, what topics to cover in your videos? Yeah, where do your ideas for your videos come from?
Thank you for asking, Tom. Well, my ideas come from either myself, stuff I'm interested in. Because I only have a limited amount of time to review stuff. I used to do a video per day back in the days, but I overworked myself, and I can't do that anymore. I can feel it in my body when I start doing that. So I put out about one video a week. That means about 52 videos per year or more, depending on if I'm doing music stuff. And so I have to be very selective about what I choose to review. So it can only be stuff that I feel can be used, that I get inspired by, because I don't want to waste my time doing something on an app that I don't feel inspired by, or a piece of hardware or something like that. So that's one thing. The other side of choosing most often is you, the audience. All right. So if you have a if you have a problem that needs solving, I have a topic for a video. Okay. And that's what it started like. Someone had a problem. I explained it. They didn't understand. I showed it in a video. Now they understand. Problem solved. And then more people have the same problem. Link the video, and there you go. You have a YouTube channel. Awesome.
Yeah, that is brilliant advice. There's two brilliant. I like to sort of highlight and reiterate what folks say in these interviews, because if you take away a couple of things from this, number one is, if you're going to get into this game, multiple revenue streams. So yeah, if you can create an app and a YouTube channel and release your music and do a bunch of things, that's going to help you in the long run. Putting all your eggs in one basket can be super dangerous, because that basket could get a hole in it, and then everyone's got problems. And then what you said about that just then is that, yeah, documenting things like answers to questions. Like, again, I do exactly the same thing. People are like, oh, it's like you read my mind because I was just thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, you and 7 other people that emailed me in the last week were thinking about that problem with that app, and that's why I made that video. So yeah, it is. It's like, and I say, people are like, where do you get your ideas? I'm like, I just read my comments. If I sit down today and I'm like, I've got no idea for a video, I'll read yesterday's comments. I'll be like, oh, that person's having trouble with that. I'll make a video about that. So yeah, it's very, very, very cool and very good advice. A question here from Ed says, do you have formal background in music, or do you think that it's required for developing music-related apps?
Okay, so there is no formal background. No, 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 no. I just go by my ear. I just listen to stuff and I learn from doing. So no formal background. If you ask me what key my latest track was in, I'll say what? I'll have to go to a piano and then I have to play the notes until I hear the key, and then
Hmm.
I have to look it up on Google what that key is called. I am not
Yep.
kidding anyone here. So that's it. No formal training. Just going by ear, just doing what I wanted to do, basically.
I love it, and yeah, and again, I agree. It can help some people in some situations, and it's not necessary though, because again, it's all about what it sounds. I know Dan Baker, who's fellow content creator and does a lot of iOS videos. I steal from him because he says if it sounds good, it is good, and that's whether you know what note you're playing or you don't, whether you know all your music theory or you don't. If it sounds good, and more importantly, if it sounds good to you, then it's cool. And other people dig it, that's a bonus. But yeah, make music that you think sounds cool, and you'll be a lot happier. All right, we're close to the end here. I know 30 minutes has flown by. We're actually already in overtime. So, a couple of final questions that I like to ask, which is this one. So, I mean, you've just released an app, so this may be a bit of a lowball question here. But what is the proudest moment that you've had since you've started creating music and you've started in the 8 years of Hack Attack? Is there one proud moment that stands out?
1 year anniversary for Hack Attack, and having a live stream back then with I think it was with my audience. I think that was the one or the second one. It was one of them. That was a proud moment because I recognized people that have been with me from the beginning. That was a really proud moment. Of course, I would say agonizer. It is. It is, but I think that's obvious to most people here right now since they've heard me talk about it. But the
Mm.
proudest moment was seeing the people who have been with me, building my channel with me for a year, or if it was two. It's the most amazing question, most amazing feeling ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, agree. And I think we have some things in common there. That yeah, when you see the same names pop up, like it again, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy when I look to the chat here, and I know I see the same people commenting on your video. I'll watch an episode of Hack Attack, and I'll be like, oh yeah, Tom's commenting over there, and that's someone that has also helped me build up my channel and my community too. And again, it's you said it, it's you, and the reason that yeah that I talk about. My goal here is to help you, not you, Jakob, but you, the viewer, create, record, and release music. Is that we can't do this stuff without you. It doesn't exist. Like we're blessed to live in the future where we can share this stuff with you because there's like maybe 4 or 5 people here in Adelaide, and I don't know how many people in your in Sweden in the area you live in that you could actually help if you didn't have the ability to put your stuff out on the internet. It would be a lot less impactful if we didn't have this technology. So and especially now more than ever, I think, without being cliched, now more than ever, the ability to communicate and share ideas and share information is paramount. My final question is this one: what piece of advice would you pass on to someone who is just getting started, who's starting to watch your channel and watching your videos, and they're just starting out in music creation? What do you say to that person?
Okay, so I understand, like I've seen the demographic for my channel, and it's people between usually. I know there are more people under this age and over this age, but usually between 35 up to 55. Okay, I get that you are busy, you have work, like you've got jobs, you've got family, you're busy, and so it's kind of hard to get the time to do what you want to do. But when you do have time, don't make any excuses. Just pick up whatever you need to pick up. If you have a phone in your pocket, you can start there. You do not need to buy the latest stuff. If you got a dinky little guitar somewhere, with just 3 strings on it, find a way to make that musical. Begin with something. What you have to do is take that first step and keep going. If you don't begin, it will never ever happen, ever, for you. that
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. That's what I've been doing. I just keep going. Otherwise, I don't do anything. And I've been in a place where I didn't do anything in the end, just because I was afraid to take that step, or I gave an excuse that, oh, I don't have this yet, or I don't have that yet. You have something. Use what you have.
100%. Yeah, agree. If you got a smartphone in your pocket, even if it's Android, as you know, you've dabbled in Android, as you were telling me before. But yeah, if you've got something, if you've got the ability to create, then do it. And I hear there's a quote that I love that the best time to start this is 3 years ago. The second best time to start is right now. And because we don't have a time machine, you can't travel back and start it 3 years ago. Just start doing it. Start creating. Start doing your thing.
Hi, mom.
Yeah. Excellent. We've got see you've brought your tribe over here to chat to you today. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful. I know it's only been a short time, and I know folks would love to hear you chat about this for hours. And if you want to hear Jakob back on the channel, please let me know. We can come back and have him as a guest on one of the other shows in the future if he's willing and able, if he has time between all of his engagements with the new app. But where can folks go to check out what's going on with you, with your music, with everything else?
Oh, just go to youtube.com/Jakob Haq. It's spelled with a K and a Q at the end. It's like there you go. You see my logo there with the big Q's at the end. That's the thing for me. Everybody spells it wrong though. Everybody will spell it with CK, and this is why people have been asking me, why didn't you name the agonizer? Why didn't you name it the Hack Attack Sin? Because you can't spell it properly. You wouldn't be able to find it on the App Store. It doesn't help you with the searches. So agonizer it is, and it's a great name for that synthesizer.
Absolutely, and yeah, the only thing there is you've got the Z there too. So I know in some English it's an S and a Z, and I had that same problem optimizing performance. Like I never know whether to put the Z or the S. But do check out Jakob on YouTube, on the website, and also the new app Agonizer. They'll all be linked down in the description as well. So thank you very much for that. We've got more things coming up here today. So Jade Star has just dropped a link. She's doing another interview today, and she's a friend of the show. And again, she has interviewed Jakob before. So please check out. I'll actually throw Jade's interview with Jakob down in the description as well, so that you can catch up on that one if you want the deep dive into all of the app universe and what they talked about in that one. But until next time, on behalf of my guest, Jakob Haq, it's been an absolute pleasure being here. Thank you, folks. As Jakob said, start creating right now. Create, record, release, and be nice. Be kind to yourself, first and foremost. Very important. Be kind to others and keep creating, folks. Take care.